Hi friends, this is the Be Real Babe podcast, a place where your average Canadian wolfpack come together to talk about life stresses, messes, and successes. A safe space where being yourself is the ultimate goal. Each week we will bring you new episodes sharing our opinions on a ton of different topics in hopes we can get a better understanding of ourselves, each other, and this crazy world we live in. We want to build a community where we can show up as ourselves, be real, and lay it all out there. By sharing our opinions and experiences, we hope to reach others who can relate so we can all help each other learn, grow, and heal. But please keep in mind, as a disclaimer, none of us here are professionals, no one is giving any advice. We are strictly speaking of our life experiences, our opinions, and for entertainment purposes only. Now, with that being said, it's time. So grab your drink, grab your joint, and let's jump right in. Welcome to the Be Real Babe podcast. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by the show today. We hope that you have a good time. And if you're a returning listener, watcher, supporter, well, thank you guys so much from the bottom of our hearts for coming back time and time again. For those that don't know me, my name is Brandy and I am the host of the show. And today we are at episode 126, Mental Health Madness. Now, you guys, before we get on to the show, I just want to say this immediately, that we understand that everybody's going to have a different opinion about this topic and an experience, because everyone, like most things, have very different experiences, and ourselves individually too. If you would have talked to us a couple of years ago, we probably would have had a different opinion than you're going to hear in this episode going forward on this specific topic. However, I just wanted to say that first because I know some people get upset when we share our experiences and thoughts on this topic. But again, guys, just like always, we're learning. We want to talk honestly about it, and we have our own experiences with this. So that's why I just wanted to preface this, that we know that everyone's experience is going to be different, and this is just ours on this topic. If you guys are happy and you're in a good space and the mental health medication that you're taking is positive for you and it is giving you great results, then we are so fucking happy for you. Please do not take that as anything else. But ourselves, some people around us, they've had these negative experiences, and we just don't love big pharma, so we just have to question a few things, So anyways, guys, I hope you've been enjoying season 5 as much as we have this whole month, talking about big pharma, starting with birth control and then over to opioids, and now talking about mental health and the medication side of it. Let's talk about what big pharma has to do with this, and are they making money? Are they being honest? I don't know. I guess we'll find out soon. But before we jump into the episode, I just want to remind you, if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, if you can make sure to subscribe and like this video and help us out, and also turn on those notification bells so you know when we drop our next episode. If you were listening on Apple or Spotify, if you could also turn on the notification bells, and if you're on Apple, if you can give us a review, that would be even better. You don't even have to write words, you just put a couple stars. That would be so awesome. We would appreciate it so much. Make sure you guys comment on the videos, like them, message us if you want to be a part of a show, what a topic you guys want us to cover. We're always up for it. And if you are on social media, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest, posting there every single day. Even on Facebook, we're doing it every day. It's been amazing. And as always, guys, let us know what you think, and let's get on to the show. All right, babes, it's time to get on the show, and I'm so excited, y'all. I have my OGK with me. Hey, babe, how are you? I'm so excited.
I'm great.
It's so excited.
Nice. It's kind of, we got the other girls on, and it's awesome because they take up a lot of the slack and whatever, but it's kind of nice to kind of go back to the roots and just have like a episode or two where it's just me and you, and we kind of get to go into it and that
spit
way and
shit
stuff
out.
Spit shit out.
Yeah, it's been a while.
That one. It's been a minute.
Yeah, and again, no shade to guests, no shade to anybody else or our new co-hosts. We love y'all.
We love everybody
so much. We love so much, but it's just nice to go back to me and you, where it just feels like, especially because we've grown so far. So it's like every time we do get a chance, because we're both so busy, that it's like, think about the last time we were just the two of us. Like, I don't even remember. I honestly don't even.
I have no idea when the last time
maybe
that
the
was.
Beginning of season 4. I'm not sure. It's just incredible.
I think so.
When it was just me and you for so long now, that we've grown this amazing community with just co-hosts and different guests and returning guests,
all the people.
And this episode, I mean, we've talked about mental health quite a bit. I feel like on our show, I feel like that was one of the very first things that we talked about when we talked about big pharma. But I don't know that we've really talked about the medications and, maybe more of the negative sides. I don't, I think everyone knows how we feel about big pharma, but I don't think we've hit this one just directly.
No, I don't think so either. It was kind of like a we talked about mental health, and I think we maybe like when we hit on big pharma, we talked about it, but like we were more so talking about like I think at the time it was like the lawsuits or whatever. Like there
Yeah.
was some
Heavy shit.
lawsuits happening with some crazy drugs and whatever that they're just like continuously trying to push because that's what they do.
Yeah.
Big pharma.
As usual, yes. But
It's weird.
it's weird. It's a weird
Yeah,
one to
it's
talk
weird.
about. But I think, too, with me and you, we've come in such a different way for the last 2 years when we first started talking about our mental health, and both of us
Yeah.
having experience with these pharmaceuticals. I think that's why was really glad that we were able to both jump on for this, because we both have, similar but different as usual experiences in this. So I think it's good that me and you are tackling this one, because we can pull up what we've found, and then we can also talk like on a personal point of view. And at the beginning I said, and I want to reiterate this again, if these medications make you feel good and like you have a completely different experience, and that's totally understandable. We're just putting a side out there that seems like it's more controversial. I feel like a lot of
Hmm.
people say that it's more taboo to talk about mental health and being on medication, but now I feel like you're almost looked at a little bit worse if you're like, oh, I actually don't, and I'm not really into pharmaceuticals. And I feel like you are almost a little bit more shamed now than when you used to say that you were on them. I don't know if you
Yeah,
feel
because
that way.
it's like it's not cool to not be on antidepressants. It's kind of like
Yes.
that is the new thing right now, the new trend. And I'm not throwing shade at anybody. Like I've gone through my dark periods where I absolutely needed it to pull me out of whatever the fuck was going on.
Yes.
But I
Agreed.
realized quickly that there was some shifty things about it. So it made me feel weird. And if you guys go back in the episodes, I've talked about it. Like I became kind of like a robot, and I didn't like the
Mm-hmm.
taste it gave me in my mouth. So
Yeah.
I just have my opinions. And I also went to school for community support work, and I learned about like helping people with addictions and things like this, and getting like helping people with their mental health and all that, like from children to adults kind of thing. So there's just some like background in my brain that I have where I'm like, and I said in school, I'm like, I don't think that medication should be the be all end all. I think that
No.
there should be other avenues in effect to help get progress that situation so that you're not just heavily dependent on one thing. Because what if, like we saw it with the Adderall, do you remember that when
Mm-hmm.
they
Yep.
had that Adderall shortage and people
Yep.
are just going fucking mental? Like what if
Yes.
that happens? You have to
Yep.
kind of like, people should be prepared to just not have to be like just consistently taking something. Like I even say the same thing about elderly people that have to take like heart medication. Like, well, what else
Yeah.
could you be doing? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
what can you be doing for your health that could make that better so that you're not
On such
reliant
a high
on that
dose
thing?
too, maybe, right? Like,
Because the
and that's
side
the
effects fuck
tolerance too,
you.
and the side effects. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I had no informed consent when I was on anti-anxiety medication. Like, I had no fucking idea. And I fought so long to go on them because I had a prescription pill addiction. I was like, Mom, I don't want to go on these because I don't want
Right.
it to be another form of addiction. She's like, but like the anxiety medication isn't like that. It's not like you take it. It's not like, Xanax for what I was looking
And you
for.
crave it.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
crave it because it gives you a high. It's like you take it every day and it just like
And it
helps
levels
you
you
and
out.
it levels you out. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay, at that time, and I fought it for years and years and years. But after my divorce and after I left the gym I was working at, I was just really, and at a really high paced job, I just was struggling. And so I was like, okay, if I'm going to do it, now's the time. And all fair and well, she never really told me anything about it. She just put me on, it's called venlaxafine. And
Hmm.
she didn't really tell me much about it. She didn't ask me much about my life. And after like 6 months, I was on like triple the dosage because every time I went back to see her after every couple of months, I just kept. And after a while, I
It's
was
not
taking like
working.
a
It's not
pill.
working.
Yeah, a pill and a half. And I was like, okay, if I'm doing this at like 32, 33, where the fuck am I going to be at 60? And then I didn't
Right.
take the medication for one day, and holy shit, did I feel sick. And I was like,
Different,
I
right?
don't, yeah, like a different, like sick. And I'm not saying I could equate to anything, but it felt like my whole entire body, what I would imagine is like a sliver of what like dope sickness would feel like.
Like a withdrawal.
Yeah,
No, not
huge
even a
withdrawal.
sliver. That's like 100% a real
Hmm.
thing. You have to. People, oddly enough, I have another girlfriend that I remember starting. I met her and talking to her, and like it was kind of right around when I was in school, And I was asking her about her shit, and she was on like 35 fucking milligrams of Prozac. And I was like, bro, what is the end game there? They up
Yes.
because like she missed it for a day or something, and she was like you said, like she was
It's
shaking, she was
fucked.
puking,
Oh,
and
you
I was
feel
like,
so weak.
I just was like beside myself. I'm like, is that what the? I'm like, and I was taking 10 milligrams,
Yep.
and I didn't even like it. Like I liked it in the beginning because it helped me stop crying for one.
Yes. Yes.
Mine was like a they're like a blanket drug, you know. Mine was an antidepressant, but it also helped with my anxiety.
Yeah.
But I was also going to therapy, so I started leaning more onto my therapist than I did on my drugs. And I told him, I was like, I don't really like this stuff. Like, yeah, it helped and everything, but then I started noticing stuff like
Yeah.
it would just someone would treat me like shit, and I would just be like, ah, brush it off. Whereas before, I would feel it full spectrum on the other end. Like I would
Yeah.
cry and like, do you know what I
Rage.
mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was
Absolutely.
like I went from one extreme to another, and I
Yeah.
just was like, all I want to do is be in the middle.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
be able to feel it, process it, and move on from it. I don't
Yeah.
want to just brush it under the rug like, oh, you can treat me like shit and it doesn't matter. Oh, you can hurt me and it does like I didn't want that. So
No.
I cold turkey quit it, and that was really stupid, but
Dude, yes. Isn't that wild though? But again, these are all the things that because you're almost afraid to go and tell your doctor, like, hey, I
that
don't
you
want to
don't
be
want to
on
take
this
it.
anymore. And because I know what the next thing's going to be. Oh, well, let's give you more because it's not working, obviously, or let's try you on something else. And I just did not feel like that was the answer for me. And
Mm-mm.
all the restrictions that you have to have when you're on these types of medications, because, most of the time, like, I'm not a huge drinker, we know that, but I was me and Grant just started dating and we are going to Vegas. And I was like, I don't drink often, but when I'm going to Vegas or it's summer, I like to be able to have the ability to. So I was like,
To
I'm
have a
just,
drink or two, yeah.
yeah, when I was on them, I was single. I was in a really stressful time. I didn't really like have a gym life. It was just, everything was a mess. And so after when me and Graham been together for like a year and I noticed how much weight gain I had, like, at least 30 pounds, it was
Oh,
insane. And I was like, and then the birth control, I was like, I just don't feel like myself. And I could not create. Like I could
yeah,
not create at all. Anytime that I thought about doing a photo shoot, I was just like, I couldn't think how people could
stressed out.
stand. I couldn't think like where would I even put them in Grand Prairie? Where would I do like and it could have been that part of my career, but I just didn't have any emotion. So I couldn't draw in inspiration and create and take it just cut off that channel of
Hmm.
emotional release. And I was just like, and then I felt even worse because I was like, oh, now I can't do the one thing that I know how to like get this shit out. And so
Yeah,
after we were together for like a year and a half, I was like, I feel like I'm in a much better place. And I don't like how this medication makes me feel. I don't like how I have to take like a pill and a half every day. And if I don't take it at the same time, I feel like a crackhead. Like I don't love that feeling. And then same thing. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wean myself off. And I did like about a month before we went to Vegas. And I, for probably like 4 or 5 days, had continual brain zaps. And it was like the
ooh,
worst.
that's what my girlfriend was telling. Like the brain zaps. I was
It,
like,
I was like,
explain that. I want to hear about that.
so like I don't know what anybody else felt like, but my actual stepdad said he felt like this when he came off this medication too. But it just felt like the only way I can explain it is like an electrical current was running through my brain, and it was
Mm.
like this like voltage
Like
running
literal
through my
zap.
brain, like a literal zap through my brain, and I'd be like,
Mm.
"Ooh, what is that?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, I have permanently damaged my brain." Like, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if that. I'm not saying that's what it is. That's the best way I can explain it. If I had to visualize it, it would feel like a little zap was running around my brain. I know people can't see it, can't see me whipping my hands around, but like it felt like it was just like a game and it was just going for one and it wouldn't last long, like maybe
That's
10, 15
crazy.
seconds. And I would just lie down and I would just be still because I was like, I don't know where this is coming from. And I
Or
felt
what's gonna happen?
yeah, and I just felt dope sick for a lack of better word. So like I think because
Uh,
of that, I have huge empathy for people that do those heavy drugs and do those heavy pharmaceuticals myself because I was addicted to Tylenol 3 as well. I know what the body feels like in those senses and I did not expect the anti-anxiety medication to hit me harder than my addiction to Tylenol 3. Like I did not
hmm.
that wasn't because like codeine is very very addictive substance. Tylenol's not good on your stomach. Um
No, it's bad.
it's
I can't
bad,
take
but
it.
no, it's terrible now. I will not take it. If I take anything, it's Advil.
Can't
Like,
even poop.
no, never. Oh my God. Try taking Tylenol 3.
Oh, it's
And and you have
horrible.
no appetite, so you don't eat. And oh, it's just
And you're
terrible.
like,
So,
ah,
yeah, it was worse coming off of that, in my opinion. And I was like, oh, great. We're going to Vegas in 3 weeks. I can't even stand up. I had to call sick into work for 3 days because I was so sick. And I was like, what the fuck did I do? And my doctor's like, yeah, you should have never done it like that. I'm like, Well, I was done with it, so we're here now,
And
and
I
it was
also didn't feel safe to come to you to like ask you how to come
no,
off of this because I
no.
came to you to come on it and it's your job to do these things, but you're also so deeply indoctrinated by the fucking system
Hmm.
that your main aspect is not my health and well-being. It's how to get me out of the chair and someone else in the chair.
Well,
It's about this.
and it always just seems like, where was the
Not
discussion
all of
of
them,
like,
but
no, but where was the discussion of like, okay, you know what, I'm not saying do this, but let's keep you on this on a light dose, and let's look at other ways that we can help you. That's what I think frustrates me the most, and I think that's where people get so upset and triggered when we talk about this, because it's like, I'm not saying don't use this medication. What I'm
no,
saying
fuck
is
no. If
that
you need it for a
do
sec,
you
yeah.
yeah, for a second. And that's, I think, what it is like, what I worry about is all this medication, and we'll go through this a little bit more, has been out for quite some time, since the mid 20th century. And excuse me, we've seen nothing but an increase in
Mm-hmm.
mental illness. And I don't believe for a second it's because there's more awareness of it. Because there was a lot of
No.
discussion of this for years and years and years. And I do believe, again, that Western medicine has progressed in a way that has helped people that truly need it. But I also think that this also bred a culture, and now we're also in this glorification of mental illness, where it's like, okay, yeah, it's common, but it shouldn't be normalized and celebrated and glorified in a way that it is. It's, to me, an indication something is off somewhere in the body and the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And why are we just being like, oh, everyone has it, so let's just take a medication and move on? I'm not saying don't, but I'm just saying it's makes me sad when, there's no, I don't know,
Like light
aggressive
at the end of
pursuit
the
of feeling.
tunnel.
Well, just no passion to like want to feel better. Like, like how Danielle said in our body image one, like, once you realize the government like
Yeah.
wants you to be sick, you
Yes.
trying to do everything to reverse it. And that's what I feel like this is what it is. Like, I don't want to be on a pharmaceutical, because that's just going to lead me to other issues, like we'll see going through this. And then what's that going to lead to? And I'm 36 years old. You know what I mean? But that wasn't ever discussed with me. It was never like, oh, by the way, you're not going to feel any fucking emotion. Like you said, it's like, okay, great. I don't feel emotion. I wasn't rageful, but then I wasn't feeling anything. Is that better?
I
And,
felt
and,
nothing. It was fucked up.
and how do you learn to regulate that when you don't feel anything? So when you get off of it, or let's just say you feel good and that wave hits you and you've not spent any time learning how to regulate that, I feel like that would be more explosive,
Yeah,
personally,
so
for
I
me.
think it was interesting too because right around the time that I started my antidepressants is when I was getting together with my boyfriend that I'm currently with now, and he even noticed the switch. Like he cared and he would check to make sure like, are you taking your medication? And he could tell if I wasn't taking it. But I like it's funny that you said that about the pursuit of wanting to feel happier. I knew inside my body, like my soul, my in my fucking bones, that there was a better way to live. Like I
Mm-hmm.
knew that there was so much more to life than feeling how I felt. I knew that there was so much more to life than being angry and miserable and resentful and like jealous and greedy. And I knew that there was more because I'd had little blips of it.
Yeah.
I'd
You've
tasted it
seen it.
before.
Yeah.
And then like I had my son and it was like, well, I have this child, like there's so much to be like happy for and alive for. So that I was just like I was on a continuous cycle of like, how the fuck can I get from it was like, so it's like looking through a window and seeing people enjoying things and going, well, how the fuck do I get there? You
Yeah.
literally just have to go find the door, crawl through a window, literally bust a hole in the wall, something. But it's possible, right? So
Yes.
I kept going and I was like, no, so I kept talking to my therapist. I was lucky. He gave me a low enough dose that
Good.
I wasn't like, I don't think I got the brain zaps, but like,
Oh, good. Fuck.
you know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
was weird, but it was like he knew that I just needed something because I was so far down in my fucking darkness that I needed something to snap me out
First.
of it
Yes.
aggressively.
Yes.
And so that is why I still say, like, if you're like, I've even said to some of my friends that have been going through mental breakdown, like crisis moments, I'm like,
Yeah.
it might be time for you to think about talking to your doctor about a little bit of medication, something low enough that it just kind of levels
Helps.
you out and you can see that it's not all dark and gloomy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because that's really all that I needed, was to know that there was I fucking cried for so long that it was just tears and tears and tears and sadness. And I was like, I don't want to feel like this.
Yeah.
So I told my therapist, and he's like, okay, well, let's get you figured out with this or whatever. But yeah, long story short, like I just knew that there was more, and I kept chasing and I kept pursuing. So I think it's important. Like, and I didn't just do therapy, I did fucking Reiki. Like
Mm-hmm.
I fucking reached out to this woman that helped my mom heal after her divorce. And
Mm-hmm.
I did that, and I talked to my friends who are, psychic. You can call me whatever you want, but like I believe it. And I went all kinds of routes. I did all kinds of things, and I started really getting in tune with myself. I started listening to my body. I started keeping track of the little moments where like I would get triggered or something would fucking set me off.
Yeah.
What happened in that moment that like made me feel that way? And then talking to my therapist and all that stuff, it helped. So
Yes.
I don't know. I just think that there's more to life than just sitting there and taking drugs if you don't need it. You should figure out like there's other avenues. Like do more.
Yeah.
Don't just take the
The,
medication.
yes.
Do a little bit more, and once you can, because I understand it's hard to climb you out of a hole when you're really down there, but get yourself leveled out if you have to, and then go from there. Like look
Yeah.
at other ways to heal yourself, because we're just going to say what it is. Like your trauma is why you are fucked up.
Yeah.
That is why
Absolutely.
I was fucked up. That
Yep.
is why you
Same.
were fucked up.
Yep.
Trauma, your
100%.
anxiety, like I can see it. Like you talk about it, and I just know all of a sudden, I just know where it was coming from. The root
Yes.
cause was your trauma. You discover what your root cause is. You figure that out. You talk about it. Not talk therapy is not for everybody. There's other things.
Oh,
There's like
yes.
there's so many other different modalities that you can use. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to like go off on that for a quick
No,
second, because
please do.
it's
No, it's
important. It's
amazing.
important for people to know that there is more than just medication, and if you
Yes.
can, seek it, because that
Yeah.
is I didn't think I was going to make it to 32. I didn't think I was going to get here. I didn't think that I was going to even fucking get past 25. And then
Remember you telling
that
me that.
happened, and I kept going, and you know what I mean? So when I was younger, I don't think I ever saw my life past fucking 30. Like
Yeah.
and I'm 32 now, and
Yeah.
I'm thriving. I have
Oh my
moments,
God, who
but I'm
doesn't?
fucking thriving. So
Yes.
don't do yourself the injustice of just thinking that you need to be put on medication and that there's nothing else out there for you, because there is.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we are living proof that that is a thing and it's
Yeah.
possible. And there's so many other like success stories out there that are like that. So
Yeah.
don't just bare minimum is medication. Bare minimum.
Yes. Yes. And I think too, it's like you said, don't like just depend on just that, like there's never going to be like, I know there's going to be a pill that's going to make people feel better, but there's never going to be that magical pill, right? That's just going to take everything away. It's not going to take, well, like it'll
Yeah.
flatline you, but like
Yeah.
that's not really living life though, right? So I think when you get to that
Mm-mm.
point where you have the awareness of being like, hey, this is a spot where I would be normally triggered, but I'm not right now. And then you start working on identifying those moments. And then maybe in the meantime, you're picking modalities like meditation. And you don't even have to be great at meditation. It's literally just taking 10 minutes for yourself to just listen internally. And then maybe you're going to read a book and you're doing all these little things that you're taking care of yourself. And you're like, oh, well, that feels good. Maybe I'll add to it. Like, maybe I'll eat better and maybe I'll move my body. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
this is what
Oh my
upsets
God.
me
Diet
so
is
much,
huge.
right? And this is what upsets me, I think, the most about what I hear from most of my friends is, to me, and I know because I go so hard against pharmaceuticals and stuff, it's not that I don't think that people should use them. It's what upsets me is that the minute someone goes into a doctor, for the most part, you hear them say, I'm upset or I'm stressed out. It's not like any question of like, what's your family history? What are you eating? Are you sleeping? What's your work environment?
Are
What's your
you
stress
having any
load?
major stress in your life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you working out? It's immediate like, oh, okay, well, let's put you on anxiety medication. And it's like, I'm not saying that not that people don't have anxiety, but one big thing that I loved when I met Grant, because I kind of grew up in a very much like diagnosis, medication world growing up. It's like once people figured out we had anxiety, it was like everyone has anxiety, everyone has these diagnosable traits. But like that didn't really change much. It just kind of gave a reason, like an understanding of what like medication you could use. There was no like,
Yeah.
okay, you have anxiety, so let's work on this. Like let's talk
Why do you
about
have
why do you
it?
have it? Like why, like okay,
Where
when
is
you're
it
in a,
coming from?
yeah, like so for me, it's like in a vehicle. Like I tried to explain this to Grant the other day. I can't stop myself from reacting when we get close to a vehicle because I've been in car accidents. And until I address
Your
that, I'm
body
always,
remembers.
it does. In my brain, I could be like, relax, it's fine. I feel safe. It's nothing he's done. But I'll just be
But
like,
your
do, do, do,
body,
do, do. And I'll look up and all I see is lights. And I just, and I'm sure you
yep,
probably understand that feeling.
yep,
And you're not meaning to do it, but it's
it
stored
just
in your
happens.
body. It
Yeah.
just happens. And as much as I work at it, it always pops up. But what I was saying before too is like, when I first met Grant, I was like, oh yeah, I have anxiety. And he's like, but like, how do you know that you have anxiety? Like, how do you know that it's not just like the world just being stressful, like did is everybody
Hmm.
have anxiety because we all have anxiety, or is it because it's just easier to diagnose things now and then put a medication on it? I just kind of wonder because like if you go back to like our grandparents' time, was there this many people that had this much mental health? When you look at the numbers, it doesn't seem to be.
I think that there were, but I think because of the time with our grandparents, it was very like no one talked about it.
No, and they
So
went
I
through like
believe that
war
people
and
have been
shit.
struggling a lot. Yeah, like
Like they went
PTSD,
through really
CPS,
bad stuff,
yeah,
right?
fucked up shit.
But
And
I
men
just
were able to rape women in that time, so there was
Mhm.
a lot of fucked up stuff. But yes, interesting that you say that. I have another point to add to that when you're
Yes.
kind of
No, you go for it.
um,
Add the point.
yeah, it's just like the whole anxiety. It's really cool that he said that to you. Like, how do you know that? Because like I had a girlfriend say that to me. She said like and energy as well. Like I if
Yeah.
I'm all out, we're all over the place, but we believe in energy because everything is
Yes.
energetic. You can pick up on other people's energy. So
Yes.
sometimes you could be totally fine and then you're out and about and you're in a big crowd and then all of a sudden you feel overwhelmed and like
Hmm.
overstimulated. And I learned to start asking myself, is this my shit?
Yeah.
Like, am I feeling this naturally on my own? What is going on in
Yes.
my life? Or am I feeling somebody else's stuff?
Yes.
Because that's a thing. And then my therapist, on the other hand of that, told me that anxiety is your body's way of reminding you of something that's happened from the past. So that
Exactly.
ties into the whole it's stored in your body energetically. And once
Hmm.
I knew that, I was like, well, shit. So
Let's
anytime
release
my
some of
anxiety
it.
would come up, I'd be
Yep.
like,
Is this mine?
what have
What
I
is this?
gone through in my life where this would be coming up? And 90% of the time, it was a trigger. Something would trigger me that would set off my anxiety. And then I'd be like, holy fuck. But before I didn't know how to like pinpoint. And then I
Yep.
figured out how to pinpoint through talking and medication and talking to other people and, building building a community of people that understood what I was going through because some people didn't. And like my
No.
parents, I will to this day, there were times where I remember my dad going, why are you like, why are you like this? Like, what, do you, what? And it wasn't until recently when I talked to him, he's got
Understanding it now.
a younger child that he's not younger. She's, in her teens now, but
Yeah.
she also has mental health issues. And it was really cathartic to sit there and tell him like, it was fucked up, Dad, for you to ask me what was wrong with me, knowing full well where I came from. Like, it's
Yeah.
fucked up. Like,
Yeah.
I was fucking hurt. And you
Yes.
may not think that, but like, let me explain to you what the fuck happens to a child when they miss out on core development time, not just in like nurturing and love and safety and food and all that shit. That
Hmm.
fucks you. So,
Yeah.
hi, that's why I'm the way I am. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk, Dad.
Well, and two, like it might have been like from what you were like 3 when you're adopted, weren't you? So
Yeah,
it's
so
like, you think that people would be like, "Oh, well, she's so young, she doesn't remember." But it's like, but no, but your body
my body
remembers.
does.
So whether you physically or like mentally remember that memory, your body still feels that unsafe environment, and it's a very hard thing to work through when you've, especially for so long, is that even if you were at 3 then put in a better environment, there's still a big part of you that would have been like this and waiting for the other shoe to drop, probably in a sense your whole entire life until you started
And
dealing with it, right?
never talked to anybody until I was in my late 20s. And it's kind of fucked up because I just thought, like, this is how it is,
Yeah.
And I just kind of recently figured out, like, because I would talk to my therapist, like, it wasn't necessarily PTSD. What was happening was like it's called complex post traumatic stress disorder. So
Hmm.
PTSD is one singular event that, like war, right?
Yeah.
One singular fucked up event that just takes
Did
you
it.
and warps your entire
Thoughts.
scenario.
Yep.
Whereas the other one is
Continual.
continual, like it's
Yeah.
chronic, like there's just like moment after moment after moment. So I'm born, my life was fucked from the moment I came out, and then you know what I mean. And
Yes.
I don't want pity, I don't want anyone to feel
No.
sorry for me, like that's not where we're going. I'm just explaining like it is that fucking simple.
Yes.
I, you know, it so, and just event after event after event. So yeah, I was, first 3 years of my life was really fucked up. And I actually have no, like, you would think that a person, I don't know, do you remember your mom when you were a baby? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you
No,
remember stuff?
not,
And people say that that's normal, but there's
yeah.
like some time, like after 2 and 3, the ages 2 and 3, children are pretty like spongy.
Yeah.
I have one memory from my childhood, and it was the last foster home I ever lived in. Everything before that, complete blank. And it's,
It's
my
crazy.
therapist said it's
I
blocked out. Like that's what your brain does.
Yeah, and I
Just
feel
blocks it
like,
out.
and maybe too, I don't know about you, but sometimes it'll just take certain moments that'll trigger, and all of a sudden
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's clear as day, and then I'll forget about it until like 4 or 5 years later, and something will come up, and I'll be like, holy fuck, and it'll just like
Holy
come
shit.
to my forefront. Like the other day, I was trying to think of like why driving freaks me out so much outside of like my own car accidents, and why drinking. Like this morning, I got really triggered watching a video about this Illinois girl. She was like a college girl that killed two people, and she was just like said she only had 4 drinks, but she was pretty drunk. Like she was like laughing and like what's going to happen in
No remorse.
graduation, no remorse, like nothing. And I got so upset thinking how like how irresponsible that is,
Ignorant.
and how
Yeah.
ignorant it is, and how messed up and out of touch people must be. And I just think that I don't even know where I was going with this. Oh, the memory thing. I think the reason why that upset me and why I got so upset is because, like, we have really talked about it, but kind of like, I come from an alcoholic father, and at the time it probably seemed so cool, but I remember it distinctively. This will come up once in like every 5 years, him driving a vehicle, and I'm always afraid to do crazy things, and I always wondered why, but he drove drunk up this hill in his truck, and in this like sand hill, and it just like came down, and I remember just freaking out, and I was like maybe like 6 or 7 years old, and I just remember thinking I was so afraid, and I didn't feel safe with
Yeah.
like the one person I was supposed to feel safe with,
You should feel safe.
that I
Yeah.
should feel safe with, right? And it's like, sometimes you feel like you're so healed about stuff, and things don't panic you, but then, that's what you said about the healing and going back to your trauma. Like, I'm constantly being like, oh, yeah, I've been in car accidents, but where is this like deep rooted fear of like not feeling safe the minute I'm in a vehicle? Like, where does that come from? Like, besides accidents, and it'll be
Hmm.
these memories that pop up that I don't really deal with, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was uncomfortable, but it's like, no, like
You brush it
that
under
was,
the rug, really,
yeah,
is what
you're like,
happens,
oh well,
right?
that was
You
back in the
minimize it.
day, yeah, it's like, no, that's probably a big reason why, is because the one person you're supposed to feel safe with was, drunk on top, one big part, always
Not
drinking,
being safe.
and not being safe, and doing these things because, whatever, it's fun, and he's with his friends, and it's just, when you, like you said, when you develop those traumatic environments, and it's continual, and you're getting that every single
Hmm.
time, you just expect that, so you just live in this like fear,
Fight or flight.
fight or flight, and it just keeps building, and like, like we said, I've been in the same spot. I needed to be on this medication at my lowest part to help me, but then I had to quickly realize, like, this is not going to be forever, because I'm going to be on a million of them by the time I'm 60, and be like, am I doing any other work, or am I just using this as
Yeah.
another mask to just
Like a
not
crutch
actually
almost.
deal with the emotions and the trauma with it? And so I was like I said, once I couldn't create, then we're going to Vegas. I couldn't do anything fun. I didn't feel like myself. I felt I was 30 pounds overweight. Like I was 160
Hmm.
pounds. I'm normally like 130 at a healthy weight, 110 if I'm really unhealthy. So 160 was huge for me.
Oh
And
yeah.
you could
Yeah.
see it. You could see it in my face. You could see it in my body. I just was carrying so much water, and it was terrible. I just felt terrible. I was like, fuck this. This is the, and then I learned about the risks after I came off of it. And I was like, wow, I had no idea that there was any risk to this, like
Yeah.
besides
I
the
mean, and
mental part.
the thing about it too is weird. Like when you pick up your medication, like if you think about this, you ever sit there, if you ever got to go and pick up any kind of medication, they ask the pharmacist to come over and like talk to you about it.
Yeah.
How many times in my life I have just like skipped over what they have to say because I
Oh,
don't want to
100%.
fucking sit there.
Yeah.
But I used to have a habit of going through
The
my
list.
medications and the
Yeah.
lists of side effects. And I don't know why I was like that, but that's, I was just, it was obsessive really. And I was just like, any side effect that you could get, I would get. So like
Yeah.
it could be any kind of medication. Like if it's gonna cause diarrhea, I'm gonna get it. Like I was like, I just thought I was fucked, but it's like
Yeah.
no, like these are real things. So just like take that into account too. Like be aware enough to like read up on what you're taking. Like don't be afraid to get a
Absolutely.
second opinion about it either. Like your doctor should be in your corner and they're there to support you. And in a long in the long run, like our I don't even know if our taxpayer money goes to that or whatever, but
Probably
like
not.
they work for you. Like you know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yeah.
They go to work to help you. So if they're not helping you, find somebody else. Like
Yeah.
that's
And know what those things
that's
say too, right? Like we've read them, but like, do
yeah.
that, know that,
Understand it.
understand it. And if you're okay with those risks, like I get it. I'm all for it. If you understand the risks and it outweighs, I've been there. Kayla's been
Yeah.
there at a time, but
Yeah.
I think it's also important that we've also been to the point where we felt like it robbed us a little bit too, right? And then I, sometimes wonder because I'm a freak. I'm like, oh, what damage did I do? For
What
one,
did
all
I
the
do
years
to
that
myself?
all the years that I abused pharmaceuticals just in general with Tylenol 3, and then on top of it, this anti anxiety medication, which both never let me eat. So I was really doing that on empty stomachs. And,
Not
I
good
don't
for you
know.
either.
No, I think, and at the end of the day, I think my biggest bone is like just being aware that these companies aren't here. And honestly, this episode took a totally different, I don't even want to go to anything that we've like
No.
research, to be honest with you. I think this is just more of a funner conversation. But I think the biggest thing that I would love to see that I don't feel like is when we hear people talk is no one talks to them about their lifestyle. And
No.
we've talked about this before, how the fitness industry has a lot of faults, but at the end of the day, it is about health and wellness. And
Yeah.
there is a lot of toxicity in that too. But what I think the biggest issue is that people have labeled it that way, so people don't want to get healthy, because once you do get healthy and you see how much better it makes you feel, then it's like you don't need, everyone's different, but I once I really started taking care of my health and nutrition and started seeing food as like its own medicine, it changed
Yeah. A
my
friend.
world. Yeah, like
Yeah.
a friend, and that it's here to help me and not the enemy. And now I'm like, oh, do I really need to throw this in the microwave, or can I put it on the oven just to make sure it's cooked with the best care or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it sounds
I'm
ridiculous,
the
but
same way now because of you. I
I'm
think about and
sorry.
I bought no,
Drives
I
me
bought a lot of
nuts.
glassware too because I
Yeah,
can't stand the way that the Ziploc plastic tastes when or smells when you heat it up to heat. And I'm like,
that
that's
too.
plastic is going into my.
Same.
I'm fucking yeah. I'm like, it's not crazy, but it's just
It's
like it's
not.
just being aware.
Because I
So I have a
wonder,
lot of
does
glassware too.
because like when you hear about it and you hear this stuff and it all kind of ties together, right? If you hear all this plastic stuff and these microplastics in our makeup, in our food, in the containers, in the water glasses,
In our
in our
clothes.
clothes, and you think, those are hormonal disruptors. And we're wondering why people are all over the place with their mental health. Is
Yeah.
that not fair to say that, like, then is it like a good part of you wants to then take that responsibility of like, no, we can't be perfect, but then my thought are like, but how can I minimize the toxic load that's going into my body by doing things like, you want to heat it up in the microwave, fine, do that, but like heat it up in glass, maybe, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And it
Be
lasts
smarter about
longer.
it.
It lasts longer.
Yeah.
Like if you wash your fruit and like wash it with vinegar and like get all this stuff out, even though some argue that that's not enough, that it's inside the fruit, but whatever, we can only do what we can do. That fruit
Yeah.
lasts so much longer, right? Like, I don't know, I can't help but think that we know that our nervous system is in our gut, and we know that things like gluten and all that and all these packaged foods disrupt that. And we know that we don't have
Seed
time to
oils
do
and
all that.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah, we know we don't have time to make stuff from scratch. So we're always grabbing stuff like just to eat. I was so bad at eating. I'd be like, but as long as I'm eating, who cares what it is? And it's like, well, that's how you got. I wonder if that's where
This
I
is
got to where I was, like now that I
oh
take
my
care of
god.
myself in all the ways where I'm doing gratitude every day, I'm sleeping better, I'm drinking
Drinking
water,
water, you're working out,
eating,
you're
working
surrounded
out
by good
healthy.
people.
Yeah, exactly. If I had that type of environment and mindset and like care for my body at that lowest time in my life, would I have needed those anxiety medication? I don't know, but I think when I think about that time too, I was always getting my hair done a lot, my eyelashes done, my nails done. And I'm not saying that each one of those things does
Chemicals.
that. But when I think about that, truly, personally, those are all chemicals that I'm on birth control,
Hmm.
all these endocrine disruptors, you know, it's no wonder why everyone's having all these
Everything's out of
issues.
whack.
And it's just,
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying we're caught this mental health madness where it's just like, why aren't these other things being addressed? Why is it always just like, oh, well, medication? Why isn't it like, okay, what do you eat? What are you eating?
Well,
And
we saw this with COVID, right?
yes,
Where they were all like, shut down the gym, shut down the fucking all that, but like let's keep the bars or like the liquor stores and the fast
fast
food chains
food.
open because we still need to make money. So
Yes.
I kind of think people need to start seeing it from the other side. They start like, not that I think you guys need to go out there and think that the whole fucking world's against you, but
No,
like
I
having that
agree.
like humbled reality a little bit in your
Yes.
brain. The fast food chains are not there for your health. The
No.
fucking liquor stores are not there for your health. Alcohol destroys your fucking brain. It creates holes in your
Does.
brain. I love it. Don't get me wrong,
Me
I
too.
do, but I am
Love
a
a good
lot
wine.
smarter at it. Sometimes I'm like, I have drank so much in my life. Like, how the fuck is how am I still so smart? You know what I mean? Like, how
But
does
then you wonder how people with,
elasticity, right? Your
yeah,
brain rebuilds
but
itself.
it
But
blows my mind that even alcoholics, like when you watch what's that show, Intervention, I used to be
oh my
obsessed with that
god,
because, obviously coming
oh
from an addict and being an addict and addicts everywhere, I find it like very humbling to just like constantly remind myself that if I don't keep in check with my behaviors and stuff, that I could easily be one of those people. That's why I
hmm
feel like I'm so empathetic because, I get it. I did the gross things to get the prescription pills. I told the lies to get whatever I wanted
yeah, it's
to
so
several
easy to
doctors. It's very
manipulate, right?
easy. It was very easy. No one was checking. You go to different pharmacies. It's very easy. Like it
Plus,
freaks
we're
me
women.
out. Yes, yes,
And
and
that's another weird aspect. Like, it's
yes.
so fucked up to think about it, but like, we can just cry and like, you can get what you like. It's so fucked up. Like, I think about it
This is
now and
why
I'm
I'm
like,
not a feminism sometimes, because I was like, if men cry and did that, they'd be called
what
pussies
the
90% of the
fuck?
time. But
Right?
women
Oh
do it,
man.
and it's like, oh, what do we need to do? So it's like, I feel like we are oppressed in some ways, don't get me wrong, but I think that there were not in other ways. And I think we actually are a lot more equal. And in this particular topic, in mental health, we are far more fucking advanced than men, and we are far more taken care of in the mental health realm than
hmm
men ever are. And that is something that I definitely want to bring up on the show more. And I want to say, like,
Yeah.
like I've watched good men fight to be with their children, and these moms play them around. And what do you think that does to their mental health? Another thing that I want to bring up, and I'll probably get some shade for, and I understand, but like we had to watch a friend, and I understand, and I don't want people to get upset, but it was just a side that I had never seen before. Um, but he wasn't really sure about what to do. He had gotten his girlfriend pregnant, and it was not even a discussion. She went and had an abortion. It was done. And I'm not saying that's not the right choice, but he was just
But
like,
where was the conversation?
there wasn't any. And it was like, your opinion doesn't matter. And my heart broke for him. And
Ooh.
I seen a whole other side to men, because he is more of like a in tune emotionally individual, that he was like, I
hmm
understand, but in the same sense, like, I feel like I just lost a kid, and I need to process that as well,
Kind of
because he
robbed
was,
him of,
well, he was going to be,
yeah,
he would be there whether it was the right situation or not. He would have always shown up and been that dad, right? Was
yeah.
And I understand that some aren't. And so I do, again, that's not this argument, but it was just, again, another side of like mental health. Part of this madness is like how much men hold on to, right? Like, could you imagine when you hear some of these drug overdoses and all that, you hear that, he's trying to provide for his family, and I can't imagine that what that pressure must be like right now, especially, with just cheap fake relationships online, and false posts of what other men are doing or other families, and these weird expectations that were never there before, right? Like, men didn't have to have that Pinterest pressure, Pinterest
hmm
dad pressure either, and for them to be performing and providing, and how much things cost. And I don't think that gets talked about enough. I think, I am glad that the conversation for post traumatic stress, especially for moms, is being more talked about than ever before. Um, but I think there needs to be more talk about for the men too. What is that like for men when they first have a baby, when your wife comes home and she's going through all that? I think sometimes
Yep.
too, I want to hold back from Grant because I know how hard it hurts him to see me hurt, and I don't want to see him
Yeah.
hurt, right? So it's like the men are, I think, almost worse for that because they really don't want the women to see them hurt either, or like weaker. And I think that the mental health industry is doing men more of disservice than they are doing women. That's just my personal
Yeah, I
opinion.
agree with you. I agree with you 100% because it's like we have from I don't even know when, what, like, but my grandparents, their parents before that, like, men were meant to be strong
Mhm.
and being strong meant not showing your emotions. You just do what you have to do to get by and provide for yourself and for your family. But that's kind of the beauty of where we're coming to now. Like, yeah, I think that the hyper focus on a lot of the mental health stuff is kind of fucked, especially with the younger
Yes.
generations. Like,
Yes.
don't even get me started.
The
But I
glorification
have
on
compassion.
TikTok like
Yeah,
is
I have compassion for
scary.
the kids nowadays, because
Mhm.
things are so much more fucked up for them than it was for us when we were
Oh
growing up.
my God. Because people
Just
are
in the
making
aspect
money
of
off of it
social
too,
media,
right?
right?
Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
like it's cool to have a
it's
mental health
cool.
issue
It's very
now,
cool
and
and it's
that's
brave.
kind of weird.
Yeah, it is. And that's where I'm like, I'm not saying that anybody doesn't. I'm just saying, like I said, I was having this conversation the other day and I didn't mean it in a rude way, but people were kind of alluding to like maybe I have ADHD and I'm like, which I wish I kind of part of me wanted to read this, but in some of these things here, it said one of the leading pharmaceuticals out there is ADHD medication. And if you talk to
Hmm.
a lot of people will say that they have some form of attention. And I guess my only question to that, and I'm not saying no one is, so please don't come for me. All I'm saying is like, a even if I did, what would that diagnosis do? Besides lead me to some form of medication. Like for me, it doesn't answer anything. And I know that for a lot of people, it answers like why I am. But I think I'd rather just like, to me, like if if I don't deal with all my trauma and all those behaviors that developed, like I think it's just hard. It's more interesting to me to dive into my history and my past and figure out why. And then instead of just saying like, oh, I have this diagnosis, so therefore I am this way, this way, this way, because each individual is so unique. So it's like you could say that I have ADHD, or you could say I have high functioning anxiety, or you could say that I have, borderline personality disorder. Like there's
It's so
so many
fucked how
things that are
close they
so,
are.
do you know what I'm saying? Like, or, like we've talked about this before. I don't think I've ever been depressed, like in a depression, like chronically depressed, but I've been in depressive moments. So I just,
Yep.
and that's what I loved when Grant said that to me, is like, how do you know that you're not just anxious or you're going through a situation, that is high
That's
stress,
making you
that's
uncomfortable.
making you
Yeah.
uncomfortable. And I'm like, well, because I just worry. And it's like, once I started working with my mental mindset a little bit more, and I'm not saying this is for everyone, this is just for me, I really was like, okay, now I really only get anxious when I'm driving. And that's really
Yep.
just my body's reaction from past trauma. That's going to take me a lot more time to get it. But I don't. So did I just lose my anxiety disorder, or did I have it to begin with? So I'm not saying that
Yep.
everyone does or doesn't. I'm just saying sometimes for some people, a diagnosis doesn't really do anything. And I guess I get frustrated when people are always just trying to label others with, oh, well, you're like that, so you must have this And it's like, maybe, but like, why? If I'm not
Maybe I'm just
interested
a
in,
little kinked up right now.
maybe I'm a little worked up. Maybe I haven't got laid in
Yeah.
a couple days. No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe
Like
there's some shit going on. Just
maybe finances are stressing me out, or maybe I have my period and I don't know why I'm like this. But I think because I love my mom, but everything was like there was a pill to fix everything, and so to
hmm
fix it, you did need a diagnosis. Whether that was like, so to me, it's just like for a long time didn't bring anybody peace, but this mental mindset work, this being grateful, all of those modalities that me and you have worked so hard over the last couple of years, those seem to be the things that have changed my life more
that helped me more.
than
Yeah.
any of those other things. And I think that's why I so passionately talk about that and hate that pharmaceuticals have no room in the world for that. It's just medication, that's it. And I think that's what pisses me off, because you guys, they make millions upon millions of dollars. They're on, like, you guys just go look it up. I had a thing, but I don't, this is way funner. You guys go look it up for yourselves. They're it's really easy. Like, it's so funny. One of the top 10 prescribed drugs is venlafaxine, which is the one that I was on. Um,
Interesting.
isn't it? But like, to me, I'm not saying and discrediting any of this stuff. What I'm saying is that I'm so tired of that being, like you said, Kay, the be all end all, when there's so many other things in the world, I feel like, that could help others. And I agree, like, you read through the stuff and it says, all these psychiatric drugs helped with the decline of hospitalization and stuff like that, so that people weren't held. And I do think it's come such a long way if you think about mental health in the past, where you were held into like a straight jackets and you were deemed like crazy, and you were, but that went from like schizophrenic and multiple personality disorders to now
hmm
mental illnesses, anxiety, so like,
Yep.
when people are like, oh, it was so stigmatized back in the day, it was like, but those are like the very, very, very deep psychosis ones, where it's like, there's definitely something. Now it's like, to me, that does not relate to someone that has like anxiety, because like
Mm-hmm.
Think about a college student. Like, what college student or university student isn't going to have fucking anxiety? So we're just going
Well,
to
it's
medicate
pressure and
everybody?
stress, right?
Yeah, like, are we just
Yeah,
going to
it's
medicate
pressure and
everyone in
stress.
school?
Yeah.
Like, Jesus, I don't know. Like,
No.
maybe we don't make it so stressful.
Well,
Maybe we don't.
also another side of it too, like if you and I can kind of relate to as well, like we are
Oh, I hate my hair today. Driving me nuts.
perfectionists.
Oh,
Um,
getting better in my old
and
age.
I remember when I was in school and like I remember this and I'd be like, "Oh, I got this grade." And then I did so well in my university program that I graduated with honors and whatnot. And then I started doing my ECE to further my certificate because I was just an assistant. And I remember getting like an 89 and
Oh, I
I was
remember you being so
fucking
upset.
mad.
Yeah.
I was mad. And it's like, what world do I live in? Where did this come from? Where I have to be this perfect nine? Like, who's putting that pressure? And it always
Yes.
come back to what you would say. It's no one. It's me. I have this fucking high, creepy need to be fucking top of my
Yes.
tier of everything I do. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's not realistic.
No.
You know,
And remember
this is not
too,
a realistic way to live.
no, I remember too when we started talking, I think it was in season 2, we were like so amped about talking about gender pressures and how much pressure there was on women and how much society had put on us. And as we were going through the episode, we're
This is
like,
where this comes from.
okay, well,
Is it
hold on. Is it
society
society or is it
or is it me?
me? Or is it what I think that society thinks that I should be? Like, if I showed up myself, maybe this society that I was a part of right now, like this community, this group, because I'm showing up in the way that I think they want me to, they're probably going to leave. But if I show up as myself, I'm probably going to attract more of me, like even with our show on our page, like I see it fly in waves where people love what we talk about, then they hate it. And that's okay because it's just all
It's so fine.
what we're all talking about, right? I don't take it like I don't hold on
Personally.
to it or personally anymore, right? Because
Yeah.
it's all ebbing and flowing. And I don't know. I think my biggest frustration is people just throwing medication, doctors just throwing medication, and everyone just feeling, and especially when you talk to some people that are on medication, they don't feel better. And then I'm sitting here
No.
listening and
And that's scary.
I'm trying not to be a bitch, but I'm like, but you don't sound like you're better. And you're saying that you're better, but you're what I'm hearing and collectively I'm hearing from people that they're not better, but then they're on these medications to make them feel better. And I'm like, I understand that it's a journey. I understand it
Mhm.
might take a couple times to figure it out. But in those times of figuring it out, if your doctors are not recommending the other things, the very, very basics like eat the rainbow. Are you eating a fruit and a vegetable in a day? Are you eating anything that
Colorful.
grow from
Yeah.
the earth? Have you looked outside and got some vitamin
Fiber.
D on your face? Are you eating
Yeah.
fiber? Are you drinking water? How are you sleeping?
Yeah.
Are you playing on your phone until the last second and then, like getting up in the middle of the night and looking at your phone and all of a sudden your brain's like, "Oh, I'm awake," and then you pretend to fall back asleep? Like, do you take stress from work home? Are you doing too many projects at one time? She says
Randy.
to herself. No, but in those moments, like I have literally had freak out moments this week where I'm like, I'm doing so good with anxiety. Even said to my boss, like at work, especially work stress, like I have my moments. It's a very stressful, but I used to get messages, let's say like 6, 7 months ago, and I would just panic. I would just get this like,
Panic.
oh my God, something's wrong. I fucked up. And no one
I
gave
fucked
me,
up.
yeah, no one gave me a real reason to do that. I just had this always like, the sky is falling feeling. And I haven't had that for a long time. So that's where I started going like, okay, is everybody truly diagnosable with all these things? Or are we just displaying some of these symptoms because of our environments, because of trained behaviors that very well could be worked through? And I'm not saying all of them don't come for me, everyone. I'm just saying those are the things that I question because when I made those changes personally, that's what I seen. So, and the fact that that doesn't make pharmaceutical like money, and it doesn't then lead politicians to all these companies to money, but telling people to sleep well and eat better and healthy and all that, like that doesn't make them as much money. So it's really hard to not see it any other way. Like I struggle to see it any other way, that it's not for everyone's benefit. It's literally to
Not
keep
long term.
not long term. It's to keep you hooked on. And
At bay.
yeah,
Coming
and
back.
yeah, and maybe because there are side effects to these things, we've been through them ourselves. Maybe that prolonged one will, maybe you'll get off that anxiety medication, but you know what, then you've developed this, now you have to be on a different medication. That's what worries me.
Yeah.
It's just this string of them. And we won't get into it, but that's what I feel like they're doing for the LGBTQ community. I feel like pharma is attacking them as well. And like it's
And has been for a while.
yes, and they're doing that, and now with different hormonal ones on top of these psychiatric drugs. So it's like, I'm glad that they're here because I believe that there are people that need it. I just wish there was more of a holistic, blended with Western pharmaceutical approach to people's mental health healing, instead of it just being script doctors throwing different medicines at you without trying anything else, and you being the test subject and getting to go back and tell them, "Oh, hey, sorry, I haven't slept for a fucking week. Oh, okay, this medication's probably not for you then. Let's try something else." You know what I mean? Like, it scares me a little bit.
It's kind of funny because like it's actually ironic leading up to this episode, but I shared something. I thought I found it, but it still ties into this, and I just want to read it to you guys.
Yes, of course.
It's by someone that we've followed since basically the pandemic. She's gone through a lot in her life. If you look her up, it's at Ali Beck Zek.
Mm.
And if you guys, go down the rabbit hole, the Rockefellers own a good percentage of everything in the world. So we've been trained by Rockefeller medicine to believe that normal, healthy responses and processes in our bodies need to be stopped and drugged, that grieving and sadness should be stopped and medicated, that detoxing symptoms of the body should be stopped with a pill. When you cover up sadness with a pill, you cover up sadness with a pill. The tears and grief are vital to being human because it's natural, it's normal. You should feel things.
You should.
And the scary
It's
thing is if
beautiful.
you've spent your life running from it and using like alcohol, drugs, sex, stealing,
Online, social
self-harm,
media,
other kinds of things to kind of mask that, you're hiding from it. So then you will never actually fully understand how to feel the depths of your feelings. And that is like the most beautiful thing. Yes, they're fucking sad. Yes, some of that shit is hard as fuck. And it will rock you, and it should.
Yeah.
But you need to feel it so that you
Yes.
can move past it. If you
Yes.
don't feel it, you will never know how to feel it. And that's when that's why these things keep happening with people, where they will have a moment and it'll just hit them and it rocks them and it shakes them and they don't know what to do. And so, of course, it's easy to say, well, here, take this pill and this will fix it.
Yeah.
Because it stops the natural process in
Yes.
your mind and in your body. And so I remember my therapist telling me, I asked him, because he said you have chronic depression, and I fucking questioned him. And I'm like, I have not gone to school for psychology. I don't fucking, but I just felt it in my body. So I played it. I'm like, why though?
Yeah.
Why do I have it? Why do I have it and somebody else doesn't? Like, I have these all kinds
What
of
makes
questions.
me different?
He would tell me, well, you have a chemical imbalance. And that just didn't sit right with me. And this girl, this lady, I saw a post where she said the actual chemical imbalance starts when you start these medications. That's what causes the chemical imbalance in your brain, because there's nothing actually fucking wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you.
Yes.
You just don't know how to process what you're going through. You don't know how to, you just don't know. And that's why you need to talk to somebody. I'm not saying, go talk to your friends, build a good friend circle, find a community that you can feel safe in. I've tried many different communities. I was in AA. That was interesting. But at the end of the day, I just stopped hanging out with bitches. I stopped hanging out with girls who were bitches. I stopped hanging out with girls who were jealous of me. I stopped hanging out with people who didn't give a fuck about me. I started hanging out with, actually, it started out just, me and you. And then there was a lot of dark, lonely, crying. And then my boyfriend, he was there. But you know what I mean?
Yes.
You have to learn how to feel that. You have to learn how to have the capacity. And the weird thing about, I'm going to get all religious, but God would have put us here and given us these depths of feelings if we weren't capable of having them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a spectrum, and we should as people be in the middle. And that is possible to get there naturally. And so you've said with your gut, you have your brain, and then you have your second brain, which is in your gut.
Yeah.
What do kids eat nowadays? What are they eating?
Nothing but
all kinds of fucked up sugar and
fake
processed
chemicals,
foods and soy and don't nobody shoot me.
No, but it's
you should
true
be eating
though.
real food.
But think
Real
about what's
food.
the difference though. This is what I say. Like if you look back to our grandparents and our parents, like we think about the foods that they still eat, and they made everything by hand, and they didn't throw everything
Yep.
into the microwave. They didn't, and that was okay because they had the capacity to have that family values, were not values but family unit, where mom was at home able to prepare those proper meals and take care of the home.
Yep.
And now we try to do everything really quick, and that all comes with a risk, and it all comes with, and I think that girl, just a sidebar, but I think that girl actually had breast implants. I think she got them taken out. I think she talks about
Allie,
them. Yeah, I think she talks about them.
she's gone through a lot,
She's gone
hey,
through a
with,
lot, but I think that was one of the, I
and
think
she
that's how
fought
I found
hard.
her. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think I really love that she does call all that stuff out. And I kind of want to sidebar into like having to feel your emotions. So we're watching Suits again. I just absolutely love that fucking
Oh
series.
my god, it's
Oh,
so
it's so
good.
good. I love Harvey Specter and Donna. They're my
Oh
favorite.
my god. Me
But
too.
he's talking to his therapist right now, and I just thought it was so beautiful how she said, like, the thing is like if you're always afraid of your emotions, they're always going to have power over you. So
Mhm.
if you don't feel them and you're just numbing them and you're continually running from the depth of them, it's going to catch up, or it's going to manifest in other ways, either in an illness in your body, in your mind deeper, or like in your behavior. So this week it's probably been the hardest week. Everyone on the show has just had a hard time, and of course, like, when that happens, your girl stands up.
Seasons.
Seasons, we have stuff, right? And it was a week of a season for everybody, and so I had to step up on the show a little bit more, and work got insane, above and beyond
Yeah.
insane. The paddleboard is about to open. I'm trying to build the website for that. And I kind of lost my shit on Saturday morning on the way back from the gym for like not fair reasons, but fair reasons. And I couldn't figure out, like, why am I so upset? Why is this at the tip of my heart? Like, why do I feel like
Overwhelmed.
every second I'm gonna cry? Like, I've been overwhelmed like this before. I can handle it. Well, in 2 days it'll actually be like the I don't know, probably like 4-year anniversary for our like first miscarriage, and I was like,
Mm. Your body
ah,
knows.
exactly. So it was just like it's just all worked up, and even though on the last show I've worked through this, it's still sad. It's still
It'll
always going to
always
be
be
there.
there.
It's a big
It'll
traumatic
always be
event
there.
that happened to me. Um, that even though I'm emotionally okay with it, I still am going to grieve that moment. And I,
Yeah.
if I didn't have the awareness like I do now, I wouldn't have been able to figure it out, and I would have kept going at Grant or whoever was in my life, because I just had
Mhm.
no awareness to that traumatic event. And then all of a sudden I looked at the date and I was like, oh,
Oh fuck.
well, the
Okay.
ninth is
Uh,
approaching. And I didn't say this on the last show. I don't think I did when I was talking about it. Is that when I had my miscarriage, it's actually Mother's Day weekend. So it's a very hard time at that time of year, right?
yeah.
So yeah, and so like if you don't deal with them, that's just one example. Like, I'm dealing with the best I have, but there are always going to be moments that come out. But when you don't, that usually comes out in such a big, more manifestation. So it's kind of like, I think at the end of the day, it's like, what are you physically doing in your environment or your life or behaviors or bad habits or whatever that could be manifesting these illnesses, physical, or in this case mental? Is sitting on your phone all day, being attached to this false reality on your phone, more than
It's
going outside and
so
touching
bad
the
for you.
grass? Is that really good for you? That's what I'm saying. Does everyone really have mental illness, or are we just not in fucking touch with reality here? Are we just so wrapped up into the fake lives of impossible, need to keep up with the Joneses, that's why we're constantly feeling a lack? There's so much more of that, like, scarcity online, and that fear of not having enough. I feel like there is an abundance. That's why real life is so great. When we get to talk all
Mhm.
and have those conversations, it's like, this is fucking real life. But if I go talk on a forum with a bunch of people I don't know, to me it's not as satisfying. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I just have to argue, like, are we really all that mentally ill, or are we just put in these new circumstances we don't really know how to regulate around yet? You know what I mean? Like online influence, online shit. We don't know how to mentally, emotionally, spiritually, I think, handle that. So I think that's a big part of why everyone feels anxious and depressed. And I think it's just easier to have a diagnosis sometimes, because then it's like, I could take this medication or I can figure it out. But I think a lot of people get rocked that when they get diagnosed with that, or they put on that medication, that it doesn't just fix the problem. So this is where I argue that, are those things really always fully advancing things, or sometimes is it cock blocking our actual
Yeah.
healing and true progression?
Well, and you kind
uniquely.
of think too, like when you get a diagnosis, I don't know about for you or whatever, but I remember it giving me relief, but then it also kind of became my identity for a bit.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I
just
have
wasn't told
depression. Like
why.
this is
I
why I'm this way.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? And then it was just like, but what else are you doing to like mitigate this? You know?
Yes.
So that's where it kind of became like, well, and when someone said that to me, I was like, what the fuck?
Well, it just
Kind
took
of
like a
sorcery and
well, I just took like 5, 10 minutes. It's like, oh, I'm really stressed out at work. I'm kind of like da 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 da, like natural, normal, stressed out
root
things
cause.
for a 20. And she's like, oh yeah, okay, well you have anxiety. Here's some medication. Bye. And it's like, shouldn't there be more
Hmm.
questions than this? Shouldn't there be more thought towards this? No, we're just gonna give this a try, despite any of the risks. Like
And then, like, what about the follow
what?
up? Like, did you ever have a follow
Yeah,
up?
just
Did you
put me
ever?
on
I
more.
I had a follow up. I
I
talked to a
just
doctor.
just kept going up.
She was helpful. She didn't want to up my dose, and I kept.
That's
I
great.
always am thankful for where I am and the little like moments like that because talking to her, she's like, I don't really want you to kind of do more of. I kind of want you to
Thank
like
God.
figure it the fuck out. Like
Yeah.
same with my head injury. Like
Yes.
when that all happened, I pushed and I pushed and I pushed, and then I found someone who was like, "No, you're not crazy. Like,
I
you're
remember
not
that.
stupid. Like,
No.
you are actually suffering from something that happened in your accident that no one else kind of caught, and it caused this, and no one knows why. But you're not crazy. And like, if I hadn't have pushed to do all those things and advocated for myself, and that's another thing, like advocate for yourself.
Yes.
You just gotta know yourself. Get to know
Yes.
yourself. If you don't know who you are, then I encourage you to figure that out because
Yeah.
once you start knowing yourself and you start to get in tune with yourself and your traits and your characteristics, you can pretty well figure a lot of shit out. Like I think that was the hardest thing about COVID too, is like the push for the vaccine. And I was like, there's no fucking way I'm taking it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, why the fuck am I like this? Why the fuck am I
Same.
like this?
Why I
Why
feel
the
like this?
fuck? Why do
Fuck.
I have to fight this?
Yeah.
Why do I have to fight this? Everyone else is doing it. And I was
Yeah.
like, but I remember being told, like we've said this,
My whole body
don't
said no.
follow the crowd, right? My whole
Yeah.
body said no too. And I
Yeah.
have friends who are still like I had friends who would go, their pressure was so heavy because of their job that they would go sit in the parking lot of the place to get the vaccine and sit there and just have full body fucking like sickness. And I was
Yes.
like,
I've heard this too.
get the fuck out of there.
I'm like,
Get
yeah,
the
don't
fuck
do it.
out of there.
Don't do it. Sell your asshole online. No, I'm just kidding. But like,
Well,
no,
and yeah, fuck.
but that's how I feel. I hate to say this though, but that's how I feel about all of it. And
Me
it's
too.
bad
Now
too.
I feel
Like,
the same way
and
about it
now I
all.
think back and I'm like, I just
I
can't, like,
question.
I do too. And so I think that's just it for me is like, like you said, we've said this before, we've been on these medications, we find value in them. We just want everyone to make sure it's the right time, that you're really doing it for the right reasons, that you're not just being thrown onto it because it's just easier to just give that to you and carry on with your life. I know so many people that are living with their mental illness not on pharmaceuticals because they didn't like the way it made them feel, how it made them react. So, it is a place where if you want to do that, do that. I'm not saying that you should be shamed by for doing it by any means. What I'm saying is that I'm tired of everyone just being like, everyone's mentally ill and it's okay and it's great and we should just all accept it. I'm not accepting
And
that.
take medication
And take
forever.
medication forever. I'm not accepting that because I didn't want to accept that for myself. I changed my life. Kayla didn't want to accept that for herself. She changed her life. We know so many people that are doing the exact same things. And it's not to shade what it's
Yep.
saying, is like, just make sure, like, especially if you're in your early 30s, think long term of where you're going to be in your 60s. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm on these, I want to be on them at the later part of my life because I seen what it did in my 20s. I seen what pharmaceuticals did to me, and it was not pretty. I don't know. And I just, as much as some of these medications aren't addictive, in that sense, I don't necessarily agree with that because I think some people mentally like get addicted to that identity. Like you said, I know, like,
Mm-hmm. It
growing up,
consumes you.
yeah, growing up, there was always like, if there was a diagnosis, then it was something that we could fix, but it's not always that easy, right? So I get it. I get all of it. I just want everyone to go back to the basics, and see what that can do for you because it did so much for me and Kayla and a lot of people that we know, honoring your
And
body,
there's
feeling
other
grateful.
aspects too. Oddly, like this is weird that I'm going to throw this in here because it kind of like makes me sound like devil's advocate. But there are things that I don't understand. Like I don't understand bipolar disorder. I have no
Me
I
neither.
got nothing. I don't understand schizophrenia. I have watched someone go through it, and they were normal, everything was fine, and the thing is, for him, it was offset by smoking pot. Or
Ah, that's
shattered is what
crazy.
it was.
Yeah.
Shattered. It like exasperated his
Like
symptoms.
psycho.
And
Yep. Jesus.
um so that's another thing that freaked me out. But I actually know two people that happened to here, and I was like, they just had like a complete like mental break. And
I have to wonder
I
what's in
didn't
that
really
shatter.
know. Well, and I didn't really know that other guy, but the one friend, I knew him well and personally, and he was full of life. He was full of so much life. Like, yeah, he was kind of a weirdo. He threw out some mad serial killer vibes, but um,
It's Jeffrey
after
Dahmer
he
vibes.
had that flip switch,
Yeah.
and then he went into the hospital. He spent about 3 months in the hospital, and I just remember thinking, like, after he started his medication, we all just kind of were like, he's not the same anymore. You know what I mean? Not saying that we wanted. That's kind of selfish of us to be like, well, we want the old Cody back. But
Yeah.
I have been consistently researching since then how to like holistically mitigate schizophrenic symptoms, and it's just like that one gets me. So there are people out there that, if you have schizophrenia, don't take this to heart and think, oh well, fuck, these bitches say we shouldn't take your medication, for fuck's
Yes.
sakes. Like,
Oh my gosh, 100%. This, but I'm talking about
don't
like,
not,
but I'm
right?
talking about like people that are like, just going through a hard time in life, and
Yeah.
you're a bit anxious and you're dealing with your first panic attacks and your first thing of depression,
Yep.
especially through all of these things. Or, I just don't think that. That's what I said. To me, that's where mental illness was like needs a medication, is those heavy diagnosis like the schizophrenia, the BPDs, the heavy ones, the
Multiple
multiple
personality
personalities.
disorder,
But
like
now
those ones are
again,
scary.
those that have been more glorified on social media, where kids are coming out with like pretend tics and pretend mental illnesses that aren't
Mm,
actually there, like multiple personalities and stuff, because there are
it's
people,
cool.
and it is cool, and it's so cool that these people that do have it come out and they are like, hey, like, that one girl, I'm not sure what her name is, but she has tics and Tourette's, and she always like, well, she'll try and play with eggs, and then she'll just throw the egg
Oh
across the
yeah.
room, and like she's doing it to make people laugh. Or the one comedian, he has like a stutter or different tics, and
I think it's kind of neat in that aspect because they're bringing an awareness
they
to it. Like,
are,
hey, this is who I am. I am a
yeah.
person. I am still normal. And she's kind of bringing a lighter side to it,
And
which,
I love that so much. I'm not saying
but
that
I know
those,
what you mean. There's
but
other
there's
people that
now
are kind of
people that see
pulling out
that,
other shit.
and
Yeah.
they're like, oh my
Oh,
gosh, let's
I can do
see,
that too.
especially kids. And we know how kids are so confused right now. So this is an
Impressionable.
impressionable. So they're seeing this attention and say maybe they're not getting that type of attention. So they start doing it. It's natural for kids to do that. We've seen that with like the emo movement, and like and sometimes, like, not saying all, but some people I know have, or people that I know, people's siblings I know that have lied about self-harm. I'm not saying everyone, to get, attention. So it's like, it's not a fair off thing to think that people are saying they have all these mental illnesses because it is so glorified and quote unquote brave, which I'm not saying it's not. It's just like everything, people kind of ruin it. So it's like these people that are coming out being honest about that, that's amazing. But now there's this whole new generation that's coming out to get quote unquote clout or to make money off of TikTok, because they don't actually want to go to school and do any of those things.
Or validation
Or
or
exactly, or your special,
popularity. You
exactly.
know
And
what I
it just
mean?
worries me a little bit with these easy script doctors making millions of dollars of, because it makes them money if everyone's sick, and we'll say that all the time. So all I'm saying is like, if you're going to do them, please make sure that you are also, if you can and when you have the capacity, because that's not always, but these medications should get you to a point where you should be able to start practicing these tools. Use those tools, start weeding off the medications besides the heavy ones where you need them because there's more going on. I'm talking like the lower level anxiety, depression, those type of ones, like we're talking like me and Kayla type. um
Yeah.
you know and then maybe you're not dependent, because then what if there is a shortage? What if
Hmm.
we find out tomorrow? I always say this to people: what if you found out tomorrow that the medication that you were taking gave you cancer? Would you keep taking it? And most of the stuff comes out with carcinogens and people are still taking it, and I'm like, okay, I'm not saying not, I'm just saying when we take risks, we got to know what those risks are, right? If I end up with cancer, I know it's for these fucking energy drinks I'm drinking. God damn it. I'm just kidding. But you know what I mean? And I'm not saying those all things. I'm just saying that like anything you put in your body that's not natural is going to come with a risk.
Yep.
And that's all I
100%.
try to
And
think of is like, how do I mitigate the risk? I'm not going to not be perfect. This is a plastic bottle, even though Grant has amazing like aluminum ones or whatever, the metal
they're
ones.
great.
Yes, 11 years good. I struggle because I'm like, now this plastic one, but he bought it for Christmas and I do love it. But you know, like we talked about, like for example, like makeup. Are we ever gonna stop fully wearing makeup? No. But I don't wear a full face every single day. And you know,
You're not caking it
I'm
and
not
leaving it
caking it
on.
on
Like,
and leaving it on because that's just one way that I feel like I could remove a toxic product from my life where I'm not going to die. You know, where it's like on some Saturdays, I'm going to need that energy drink right now. So that's where I'm like,
yeah,
okay, well, you know, you can't do it all like you said. Now you put everything in glass. And now that you have the glass, you have it forever. It lasts way longer than the
yeah,
plastic shit, honestly. So it's like, but I understand that glass is fucking expensive. So doing that switch, you just do it over time. And like rice, okay, we could do through a minute and a half in the oven or in the microwave, or we could do 5 minutes on the stove top. I
get
try
a
to do the
fucking
five
rice cooker.
minutes or a rice cooker, but you know what I mean?
Get
Like,
yourself a rice cooker.
I know
It
I
is
should probably get
life
one,
changing. I love that thing. But
right?
also to the same degree too, like we started making all these healthier choices and life got like a lot better,
Yes.
but don't let it make you crazy.
No,
Don't
that too.
fucking,
We've
because
been to
that's
the other
happened to
side
us
too.
too. We've been to the crazy
Yes.
side where we're obsessing, and it's like Brandy just said, we
Everything,
don't wear
everything.
makeup. I used to wear makeup every fucking day of my life
Same,
as a child, and
same.
it would be the shitty store brand
Cover all,
fucking
cover girl.
disgusting chemical gross ass shit. I have outsourced an expensive makeup that I believe in the people, like I just believe in the brand.
Mm-hmm.
And I have come to a point in my life where I'm like, I like my face better without makeup. When I put it on, I'm like, oh, you're pretty, and then I take it off, and I'm like, oh god damn, you're still beautiful. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's really what I think it should be about. Like it's funny that we talk about that, but if you can just start slowly like reducing the things that are harming you, I am pretty sure you're going to start to feel a lot better. Like,
Yeah. And doing
and
the
girls,
natural
birth
detoxes too.
control is a
Yeah,
major
huge one.
depression and anxiety causer that they get you on when you're fucking not even 20.
No, you're in your teens.
You don't even need it.
And then so it's like, so do we think that maybe that the quote unquote depression anxiety that we have has been made by that? And then, you know, and then it just
Exasperated by it,
cycle and
100%.
exasperated. So then you just get on that and then it develops what as you're older, right? So I just urge people to just be careful because we've been to the spots and we didn't have fun. Like we did the things and it was good and we're just warning people, you know, like, and if you don't feel right on it, your body doesn't, my body didn't feel right. But I kept thinking, well, everyone's telling me I have to be on them, that it's good to be on them, you know,
Mhm.
it's good to have anxiety and be medicated. You're taking care of it like you're some sort of danger. And I just don't want anybody to feel like, you know, because life is stressful and they might be freaking out that they're dangerous, right? And that I
Yeah.
really truly believe medication or not, doing things like meditating, gratitude. It sounds stupid, but it's so true though. Like
Walking,
walking,
water,
talking to
sunlight,
people,
proper
fresh fruit,
sleep,
like some fruit.
good group of friends.
Yeah.
There's just like,
Some
you start
vegetables.
changing a bit of that. Yeah, like fuck, I eat. Goddamn, I eat so good now. Like
Yes.
I eat so
And
well
you
now
love it after a while too, right? You're like,
that
you
when I
crave
don't, I
it.
feel disgusting, and it's like,
Yes.
ugh.
I still like, I try to, I'm like, at least if I do Monday to Friday, if I eat good Monday to Friday, then Saturday, Sunday when I'm busy, you know, I know people don't, but like I don't stress about it enough because I'm like 5 days of the week, I know I'm getting really good nutrition and it's good and I'll eat the best I can Saturday, Sunday. But you know, like I think as long as you're making majority of better choices, you will feel better and then you get addicted to feeling better. And then when you go to make that
Yes.
bad choice, you're like for
Do I
example,
need that?
I love bread. I love gluten,
Mm,
but my acne is a million times worse every time I do it. It does not matter. It's just worse.
mm,
So in the morning, instead of having bagels, I switch to having potatoes with my eggs, you know, and
mm,
it's just like, yeah, I could eat the gluten and I'd be fine and I could have the bagel, but then I know it's going to
but
show up on my face.
roasted potatoes are so good.
Oh, they're
Like,
so good in the morning with
holy
breakfast with
shit.
parsley
Oh my
flakes. Oh,
god.
so good. With
And like
onion
a
and
little bit of
peppers.
salt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I bake them, put them in the oven, like roast them, and
Some
then
like
omelet with
natural
it.
butter.
Yeah.
Fuck
Oh yeah,
yeah.
real
Oh my
butter
god.
because we just love that now. So it's like, I don't know, you everyone's going to have a different thing. I just think that like, you know, you get to the basics. The basics are so ignored and unless you're doing those and committing to them first and foremost, I think that's like the number one step. Like when I'm feeling the worst, I'm like, did I drink any water today, you know? And it's very easy to call yourself out. That's why we have to parent ourselves, right? So I don't know, guys.
100%.
This has been awesome, Kay. Look at us. Look at us go. I didn't even read one thing, but this
Well,
is
if you think about it, we still touched in
talked
some of
about
the
it.
stuff that you researched on. It's just like
Yes,
we have a lot of personal experience
we
in
do.
it, and it's like we could sit here and read statistics, like, but I think that some people want that, and if you do, like, definitely hit us
Next
up
show.
because it's all in our notes and whatever. Like,
Yes.
there's statistics. There's always a room for that and time and place or whatever. But like, the personal experience that we've had and like that we're continuing to have and that we're witnessing in the real world as it is, I think is always going to be super valuable. So
Agreed.
I enjoy these
I
like
know. I'm so glad we
little
got to do
chats.
this. The two OGs
And
back together again.
yeah.
But we just what
Started
we
from the
want.
bottom, now we're here.
Now we're here. We're just like eat, just a little bit up. Maybe one day we'll have a studio we can all fly to, and with good fuel, not bad fuel that's causing climate change. But I don't know. I'm proud of where we came from. I'm like proud of what we did. I'm proud that we have these experiences. I'll never take anything back. I would never not go on those medications again. I would never not suggest at your darkest times. I'm just suggesting that, and I think Kayla and I are the same ways, that you deserve more, and if you feel like you're not getting it, keep fighting for it. And to start, the easiest things you can do is start taking your health and wellness into your own hands with very, very basics of moving your body, getting your heart rate up. You don't have to go to the gym and lift weights. You could dance with your kids. You could go play baseball. It's getting nice outside. Go for a walk. Go for hikes. Vigorously clean your house. Twerk a little bit while you're working out. Like,
Dancing is actually so good for your
dancing
body.
is so good, and we'll
It
have
releases a lot of like emotion, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like
And
it's super good for you.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna continue pushing for this at the end of the year. I definitely want to be doing something like that online for people, but more of an just like innocent energy thing, not a workout, right? Just getting up and moving your
Yeah.
body and just, being silly and letting loose and, you know, being bringing it back to basics. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyways, I could keep talking for a million years
Oh,
because I love this woman and I love talking to her, and
I
it's so
know we
good.
could
But
just go
we
on.
go forever and ever. But we do have lives kind of outside of here, kind of, sort of, not really.
Brad has a busy ass job. She's
Oh,
got to go to bed.
I do. I'm so, as you see, my eyes are like, bitch, go to sleep if you're looking. But follow us, guys. Thank you for listening. Always, Kay. That was an amazing one. Just make sure you're
Thank you.
taking care of you guys. We just love you. We want you to be here forever and ever. And I don't want anybody to ever experience brain zaps because that was
Fuck no.
terrifying.
That sounds awful as fuck.
It is. And if anybody's been through it, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about and they'll know that exact feeling. And yeah, so eat your veggies, drink your water, go to sleep. Don't be a prick. Surround yourself with
Nourish your
beautiful
soul
people.
with good things.
Yeah, be grateful. Write it down if you have to. Pray to whoever it is that you need to pray to. Having a higher power is always good, even if it's us. No, I'm just kidding. Until next time, guys. Bye. Thank you guys so much for stopping by the show today. We truly hope that you had a good time. If you liked this episode and you want to hear more, make sure to subscribe to our channels, like our episodes, and turn on those notification bells. You can find us on Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, and Google Podcast. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest. Until next time, guys.